I'm a bit late with this review because I've been on puppy duty and I can't leave Snoopy here all on his lonesome while I'm out having fun. But last week I managed to go see the Michael movie, so I thought I'd share my thoughts while I also reviewed the new Cadbury chocolates. And please bear in mind that this review is coming from someone who was obsessed with Michael Jackson in high school. Other girls were obsessed with Justin Bieber, One Direction. I was obsessed with trying to learn the moonwalk. So I walked into this movie already knowing far too much. And you know those annoying people that you watch movies with and they know every single fun fact? Yeah, that was me. But at least I kept my mouth shut. First things first, if you're new to Michael Jackson, this movie is a fantastic introduction. The younger generation are now starting to discover Michael Jackson and playing his songs on repeat. I've noticed that Michael Jackson is starting to play in shopping malls and radios all over again, and now he is the most streamed artist of all time. Like, imagine being #1 in something that didn't even exist when you're alive. I was still blasting his songs on my Walkman when he was alive. There is definitely a reason he was called the King of Pop, but those like me who know Michael, there was a lot missing. And I think that's a good place for a chocolate break. From the Cadbury and More collection, this one is the caramel crème brûlée. Also, I had this in the freezer for a day. I can't eat chocolate without it being frozen. Ain't she gorgeous? That is in the inside. Like, look at that. It's crunchy, it's creamy. I give that a 10 out of 10. Save you for later. So the Michael movie was a beautiful movie, and Jafar Jackson, he played his uncle exceptionally well. He's the juiciest Jackson. There were so many parts where I thought it was genuinely Michael Jackson. But besides the beautifully made movie, and besides beautiful Jafar Jackson, there were so many issues with the movie and so many inaccuracies. For example, it made it seem like his success just fell into his lap because he was super talented and he just made it. No, there were so many challenges he went through to get where he was, and they just skipped over it. Mainly because Diana Ross wanted no involvement with the film, so that meant that his Oz era was completely wiped out. There was evidence they were going to put it in, but because of that whole Diana issue arising, and they completely removed her out of the movie, it just didn't make sense. There's a whole era that is missing that helped build up the character of Michael, but they breezed over it and it didn't show how complicated his journey to being a solo artist was. I'm talking about him like he was my best friend. I know way too much. Like, there was no Janet Jackson. She pulled herself out of the movie too, so it made it seem like Janet was never there. Anyway, maybe we'll have a Janet movie and then we can get the real story. Like, where was Paul McCartney? Even Quincy Jones had a really minor role. All these people aren't minor characters in Michael Jackson's life. They were a huge part of his success. And on that note, let's try Mrs. Raspberry Cheesecake. She don't look that bad either. Oh, look at her. She's got a little bit of jam in there. That's quite nice. It reminds me of a Turkish delight, but better. Not bad, but not my favorite. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. My next frustration with the movie. They made it seem like Michael Jackson started getting his nose jobs just because his father called him ugly. His father said he had a big fat nose. But the reason why he got his first nose surgery is because he was rehearsing and he fell over on stage and broke his nose, so he needed to get reconstructive surgery. But the movie made it seem like he was doing it because he was self-conscious. Yes, there was an element to that, but that wasn't the sole reason. And that's just kind of manipulating the story a little bit, you know? Okay, next flavor. Tiramisu swirl. Ooh. That is good. That tastes like a mocha. I give it an 8 out of 10. One thing the movie captured really well was Joe Jackson's intensity. One of my favorite things in the movie is when Joe Jackson is forcing his sons to rehearse and he forces Michael to look into his eyes while he's rehearsing. Michael refuses and never looks him in the eye. Never, ever, ever looks him in the eye until he's on tour with his brothers that he is forced to do. And he looks his father in the eye. He announces that this is the leaving tour. Ooh, goosebumps. It's such a small detail in the movie, but if you're a Michael Jackson fan, you can feel how powerful that was. And now time for the last chocolate. Hazelnut praline? I don't know how to say that. So that's what it looks like. Oh, I'm guessing it's kind of like a peanut slab, maybe. Let's find out. That is really good. It's like Nutella in a chocolate bar. I'm gonna have to give that an 8.5 out of 10. I have to say, the crème brûlée has to be hands down my favorite. Anyway, I could not speak more highly of Jafar Jackson. The voice, the moves, the whole embodiment of Michael Jackson, perfection. Overall, I would give Michael a 7 out of 10. As a lifelong fan, there were a lot of inaccuracies and missing pieces, but if the movie inspires a whole new generation to discover his music, learn his history, and why Michael Jackson changed pop culture forever, then that is most definitely a win.